Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to talk about the YYH collab that has just returned to North America. So, a little bit of pad history before I go any deeper into this is that when the YYH collab was released for the very first time, it was also the first event to actually feature the Monster Exchange system. And because of the Monster Exchange system, the vast majority of players who were capable of doing so traded 4 6-star Godfest exclusives for Yusuke. And then you suddenly had what was arguably the best leader in the game for at least a modest period of time. And the introduction of the Monster Exchange system is a beautiful thing because we can now convert sad duplicate cards into something truly meaningful. And thankfully, because this event is still 5 magic stones, the Monster Exchange rates are incredibly favorable. And in fact, 4 6-star Godfest exclusives for any trade at the 6-star rarity here is meaningful because it's as low as we can go, and because there's a good chance you may have many cards just piled up, so to speak, you can possibly utilize this trade fodder reasonably liberally, and you can acquire meaningful and valuable cards. Unfortunately, despite the fact that this event does feature weapon assists for every single card, it is for the most part an underwhelming affair. Like, the bottom rarity, even though they do have weapons, are not going to necessarily improve the vast majority of monster boxes. I don't think it's personally worth rolling in because when I really think about it, there are only a few truly meaningful cards, and you can Monster Exchange for 2 out of the 3, and you can technically Orb Skin buy the other one. So I feel like it's definitely a skip rolling event and just Monster Exchange for whatever is valuable. Because again, bottom rarity is underwhelming. If we look at where I place the bottom rarity cards, there are a couple that may have some useful active skills here and there for like situational things like farming or ranking dungeons or something niche that may be just hard to replicate elsewhere. So it's a little cool, but at the same time, I honestly feel that the majority of cards at the bottom are just not going to advance or provide any meaningful value for a given monster box. But with that being said, I want to at least take a look at the 3 top cards in a little greater detail to give you an idea of why I think these cards are meaningful and possibly persuading you to Monster Exchange for either Shura or Mukuro. So, let us transition into a different screen. So, for Mukuro, they are a unique leader potentially because they have 4 times health and 96% damage reduction. It says 100 times effective health. Like, what the fish? Like, how are you going to die? Well, you only don't die if you're at full health. So, it's a wild concept when you think about it. If you are full health, you just don't die. So, that means if you have, say, auto healing through, like, say, a Kuroyuri loop of some kind, and there's no multi-hits in the dungeon, because the thing is, you only get this damage reduction when you're full health. So you need to be at full health, and if they hit multiple times, you may not die with 4 times health, but there's a good chance you die anyways, because 4 times health is really just not that much in this day and age. So you have to be mindful of the fact that multi-hits will end you, most likely. But in theory, if there are no multi-hits, you can be somewhat immortal. You can kill stuff, you do some amounts of damage. It doesn't matter. If you can't die, you are eventually going to win a given dungeon. But that kind of like zombie-style cheesing aspect is going to not necessarily be why I think this card is valuable. It's valuable because of their weapon assist. And this weapon assist provides a cross awakening, which is pretty niche. Like, it's nice having one on a team. Like you didn't go out of your way to get this. It's not the main reason why this weapon assist is valuable, but just having a cross awakening helps because you can clear sticky blinds. It's like, why not? It's just added zest. You have 3 enhanced fire orbs, so obviously this is best for mono fire teams, but at the same time, if you convert red into a useful color, it can be meaningful, such as Royal Oak teams. They convert red to blue, so the enhanced red orbs become enhanced blue orbs. It's a subtle way to add damage. Team RCV is also a helpful aspect as well. Like, as long as you have enough health to actually tank whatever's the largest reasonable hit in the dungeon, healing back up becomes the priority. And Team RCVs does that. But it's the active skill that I think makes this quite exciting. It's a 20-turn cooldown, so you're only going to be able to use this once in a dungeon. It's only going to be used at the very beginning, and it gives you 3 turns of haste. And then you get 1 turn of bonus combos, and recover all health, and remove all binds. Like, maybe situationally, if you know something's going to get bound on floor 1 or maybe floor 2, you can use it to clear those binds. But 3 turns of haste is meaningful in this day and age because in this transforming meta, we need to find ways to safely transform our Nautilus, Royal Oak, Daytona, Seawolf, Blackbird, so on and so forth, because that second stage requires possibly 6 or maybe more turns depending on the card in question, and hastes are a way to actually accomplish that much faster. So most of the times you're using a combination of delay and haste to safely transform, but having 3 turns of haste is meaningful because when you think about it, if there are other things that give, say, 3 turns of haste for your given team, you are going to be able to actually have the 6 turns necessary to transform like your Nautilus and Royal Oak, etc. Because say you have Vion for your Royal Oak teams, 3 turns haste, and then this gives 3 turns haste, Royal Oaks are instantly transformed. This is meaningful when you're playing in multiplayer because it's hard to stall in multiplayer because there are other people you have to deal with in 3-player especially. So that helps there. Or it helps in the future upcoming MD3 where you cannot delay floor 1, and being able to transform immediately becomes quite a big priority. So because the trade fodder is such a low requirement, I do recommend you pick up one of these cards just because 3 turns of haste is always helpful. Like, as long as we have transforming cards, 3 turns of haste will be helpful, and because it's such a cheap and affordable trade, I feel like you definitely should do so. The next card I want to highlight and mention is Shura. And Shura is actually going to be valuable in their base and most likely more in their evolved form, but it is possibly may have more value in their base form. So Shura in their base form has double 10 combo VDP and can gain another 7 combo or another VDP. So massive amounts of personal damage. The fact that they are light means their sub-attribute will be dealing meaningful amounts of damage when you make that VDP. So right away, you have a great damage stick with a large attack stat. Can be a meaningful option for mono light teams. And then the active skill gives you 2 times orb movement time, reduce unmatchable by fully clears unmatchable, unlocks the board, and creates 5 light orbs over non-heart orbs. So this definitely is valuable in any instance where locked boards can get you killed. So Hexazeon can ensure 3 lock your board and possibly kill you. MD2 does have Orochi, which is problematic, so unlocking it saves your bacon there, so to speak. And from that point of view, this is definitely meaningful. Useful active, huge hard-hitting sub, and it also has an L awakening, so more utility, because you always want to have 1 L on a given team. But at the same time, if you don't need just raw damage, you're going to have much more value in their light-dark form. You still have 7, 10, and a VDP, so you still can do meaningful amounts of damage. With that VDP and hitting the 10 combos, you will be hitting quite hard, so you have meaningful damage. But what makes this card even more exciting is Super Jammer and Super Poison Resist. Having cards with double resist is incredibly meaningful and makes team building so much easier because when you think about it, you just blocked so many dangerous mechanics with ease, you still have that personal damage, and you still have the same active skill, which is meaningful and valuable. And right now, this is going to have the most value on your Saphira or Saitama teams, but I feel like as a sub moving forward, they're actually going to be meaningful for the next mono light leader coming out. We don't know what it's going to be, but it doesn't really matter what it is, because when you think about it, a 7 combo, 10 combo VDP is going to work on basically any given team. So you already have a card that solves movement time, solves locked boards, solves unmatchable. It also gives you the resist and will have meaningful personal damage. So as a sub long-term thinking, I feel like Shura is going to be quite useful because, again, regardless of what type of team, is it Blob, is it TPA, whatever it may be, you can stick them on and have a pretty good time overall when you really think about it. So I like them as a sub moving forward for the long term, and the light dark form is really where your most value would come. When you think about it, the light sub attribute, sure, that does possibly add meaningful amounts of damage, but the sheer utility gain by double super resist is just a little bit too hard to pass up on, I feel. And then finally, their weapon assist is actually quite strong too. You have double team HP and team RCV. So right away, bulk and added healing. Great awakenings right there. You can clear possibly spinners more easily or even just regular binds, depending on what you want to do. You also have a valuable active skill on a 13-turn cooldown. It gives you 3 turns of 50% damage reduction. Shields are great. We need shields in MD2. We need shields in Shura 3, Shura 2. Shields are good to have. So a valuable active skill of shielding and bulk and healing. That is nice right there. And then you also get 3 turns of 30% HP healed. That is kind of situational and niche overall, but hey, some bonus healing is never a bad thing. And then you also unlock the board. So the only drawback of this is the timing, I feel, because usually when you need the damage reduction, oftentimes maybe you need a board unlock alongside of it, maybe. But who knows? it's still a useful active skill even if you don't take advantage of the unlocking effect, because it's a nice shield, lasts for 3 turns, lets you tank 2 hits from Blue Millie, gives you the extra cushion, so to speak, against Hexazeon, because in case you mess up the turn timer, you accidentally don't get the attack while below 50% hit. Instead, you have multiple turns as a backup, or you didn't push it below. Point of the matter is, nice duration. So Shura is definitely a card I highly recommend you pick up. I do feel like they're going to have great value as a sub moving forward as well. And then finally, the last card I want to draw attention to is the Orb Skin card. So if you have the funds to do so, they can definitely be a meaningful card to purchase. In their base form, they are a multi-step transforming card, and they come with 3 skill boosts and bind immunity, which is cool, I'd say. And then when you do transform, you start advancing, and you find out that you're an attack while below 50% leader. And then you need another 5 turns to fully transform, and then your leader skill is actually quite tanky. You have a huge amount of effective health. That's incredibly durable, and that in turn makes it so you can survive lots of dangerous hits. The leader skill gives you a huge health multiplier as well, so even if you're full health and you don't trigger damage reduction, there's a good chance you just naturally tank it. Fun fact, if you are full health, you're basically the same amount of effective health as like Daytona and Blackbird. So that's pretty wild right there when you think about it. And then, looking at their awakenings, they have huge amounts of personal damage when they're below 50% health, and a VDP so it doesn't actually go to waste. Their active skill is now a 2-turn cooldown that gives you an attack multiplier buff based on the number of attack while below 50% awakenings on a given team. And then you change water and light orbs to dark. So, great orb generation. It doesn't cut your health, so I feel like you need to run someone like Dark Athena Non to truly actually, trigger your leader skill on a regular basis, because their leader skill gives you a big HP multiplier for devil types and his big attack multiplier when below 50% health. So that's why Dark Athena Non is going to be helpful. You also get damage reduction by 25% when matching 6 or more connected Dark Orbs. So your Rose and VDPs are meaningful matches. So you can definitely layer in more Rose if you need more damage. You have big damage output from both your leaders, and I'm assuming Dark Athena Non is going to be on your team. So right away, you've got incredibly hard-hitting cards. And even if you don't necessarily have cards of attack while below 50%, the fact that his leader skill gives you bonus combos when matching 6 or more Dark Orbs means those 10 combo cards are actually still going to be reliably procced and triggered. So, as a whole, I think this is quite nice. I wish he kept his Dark sub-attribute. Like, it's sad his Dark sub-attribute changed, and it'd be nicer if it was green to start, then becomes Dark, because this is an excessive amount of damage, assuming you actually, well, even if you act, come on, go to the next thing, you can do it. I don't know why it's not cooperating, but the point of the matter is huge amounts of personal damage on this given card. It's a shame it became green after, because if it was dark, you could actually do meaningful amounts of damage on your sub attributes. So as a leader, you're not as strong as Blackbird, but you're actually quite strong, but you definitely hinge on having Athena Non and also Gung Ho Belial, because the thing is, you have to cut your own health. You have no HP or RCV multiplier, but the way leaders work, if they have leader skills that do more damage when they're low health, is that when you're matching orbs, you're below half health. If you heal back up to full health, you still get your attack multiplier buff because you actually were below half health when the matching started. So that's what it checks for. So having Gung Ho Belial in your team is going to probably be quite mandatory to make sure you keep healing up, because yes, you do have a large amount of effective health, but it only really works if you're full health. If you just are below half health, and yes, you trigger your damage reduction, but you're only like 10 times effective health, then you're actually quite squishy. So you really need to make sure you can heal up to full health. So I feel like it's strong as a leader for sure, but you definitely feel locked into using 2 subs. You could probably get away with using like Zerod Core instead of Dark Athena Non, but Dark Athena Non is just the best in slot choice overall. So strong leader overall, but on the bright side, if you can't take advantage of him as a leader or he gets power crept, that's fine, because his weapon assist is also meaningful. You get 2 skill bind resist, and 2 skill bind resist is actually quite helpful in this day and age, because we're starting to see more and more teams not have skill bind resist due to the fact, like say like Daytona teams, they're going to run Halloween Cottons. You lose out on skill bind resist right there. If you had Gung Ho Belial as your cleric, you have even less stuff. Halloween Chakil, no skill bind resist as well. Lots of cards not having skill bind resist that are meaningful to run on teams. This can correct that problem. Furthermore, the owning card also gets 2 times personal damage when below half health. I love doing more damage. I always love doing more damage on a given card, so more is more. 2 enhanced Dark Orb Awakenings is nice, and then the active skill gives you 4 turns of delay. So you get to transform with ease, you have your skill by resist fixed, and you give that particular card 2 times more damage. This is actually quite a strong weapon assist in all honesty. So again, if you do have the funds to do so, purchasing this Orb Skin can be meaningful. You have a strong leader and a strong weapon assist. But with that being said, as a whole, I don't really think there are many other meaningful cards in this event. Like, sure, the other 6 stars can be possibly useful, but I don't think there are any must-haves by comparison. So with that in mind, I would personally just monster exchange for Shura and Mukuro, and then maybe purchase the Orb Skin if you have the funds to do so, and just roll your free rolls, and that's it, and just end at that. Like, I don't think it's worth rolling in because, yes, you might get some possibly kind of cool stuff, but I think there's too many misses available. Like, almost 80% of the rolls are going to be these cards, and like, I don't think they're that meaningful overall. So that being said, let me know what you, ladies and gentlemen, think about this event in the comments down below. Do you think it's actually worth pursuing, or is it more so just monster exchange only, free rolls, and just imagine it didn't exist? Regardless of all that, hopefully you all have a truly fantastic day. I wish you the best on your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.